Cat TV is celebrating 30 years of community media. Help support Cat TV's next 30 years by becoming a member today. Your membership will help us continue covering meaningful, local content. Thank you for supporting your local community media station.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right, the next item on the agenda is reorganization of the board and appointments to committees. So at this time, I'm asking for nominations for chair of the Southwest Vermont Union Elementary School Board.
Nominate Chris Murphy.
I second.
Nomination made and seconded for Chris Murphy. Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations for chair? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. All are in favor of Chris Murphy to be the chair of the board, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Anyone wish to abstain? Sounds like it was unanimous. Chris, you're the new chair, and now if you would get us a vice chair and clerk and representatives to the SVSU.
Yep. So we will, in terms of the other committees that need to have representatives appointed to them, we'll hold off because we have other business regarding our second representative from Pownell. But in terms of the vice chair, the clerk, and the SVU rep, those are elected positions. So we'll start with the vice chair. I would entertain a motion for a vice chair of the SVU ESD board.
Nominate
I
Scott
nominate
McEnany.
Richard France, Dick France.
Okay, so I have a nomination for Dick France and one for Scott McEnany. So
I
Richard,
I
are you
will
declining that,
decline.
Richard?
Thank you.
Okay,
Dick, did you decline that?
I sure did.
And what was that, Jayla?
was second Scott.
Second, so Scott's name has been nominated and seconded. Are there any other hey, wait, it's your meeting.
Thanks, Jeff.
Sure.
Any other nominations? Any for vice chair of the board? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of electing Scott as the vice chair for the ensuing year, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Congratulations, Scott. Yeah. One abstention from Scott for himself, but otherwise, welcome aboard, Scott, as the vice chair. Thank you. Scott had done a great job as the clerk last year. So certainly thank you for doing that, and thank you for stepping up for vice chair this year. So that leaves us to elect a clerk for the SVU ESD. Is there any nomination for clerk of this board?
Nominate Chandler.
Very good. So we have a first for Chayla, who just waved it off. So we'll need another nomination.
Sorry. Too many boards on my plate this year.
I'll nominate Scott.
Tammy?
I
So-
think Scott was the clerk.
Scott was the clerk. Scott was just elected as vice chair, Jeff, right before you came
Okay.
on.
I, Jeff. Nominate Jeff.
Okay.
So that's a nomination for Jeff. Is there a second for that nomination?
Second.
Thank you, Dick. So we have one nominee. Any other nominations for clerk? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of electing Jeff as the clerk for the ensuing year, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Jeff, for doing that.
Yep.
And then Superintendent Culkeen, can you remind me, please? We have two representatives to the SVU. Do we have three?
Yep.
Is it two and an alternate, or is it three?
No, that was the old method. So any operating school district gets 3, any non-operating gets 1.
Okay.
You have 3 members.
All right. So so we know, for instance, that Chayla has been elected to serve on the MAU board as well as this board. Dick, remind me, are you still serving on the MAU board as well?
I was never on the MAU board. No.
You weren't. Okay. Okay.
I'm on the SVSU.
Okay. Apart from Chayla, is there any other member of this board that is sitting on the who's sitting on the MAU board, or I suppose even on the North Bennington committee, although nobody was sitting on the North Bennington School Prudential Committee. So is it just Chayla who is on the MAU board as well?
No, you're on SVSU board, right?
On the SVSU. Yeah.
SVSU.
My
Okay,
apologies.
so our representatives last year were Chayla, Dick, and Scott. Is that correct?
Yes.
Correct.
So let me first ask, before any nominations are made, Dick and Scott, are the two of you still willing to serve as SVSU reps for this board?
Yes.
Okay, so knowing that we have two experienced representatives who are willing to do it again, and let me ask, although I'm making presumptions that I shouldn't make, Chayla, are you willing, would you be willing to serve as an SVU rep again as well? Or I want to be respectful of the fact that you've taken on another board as well. So I don't want to take up too much of your time.
No, I think I sent you a note earlier, just letting you know that I was, I think I just need to focus on this board and the other board for doing double duty between the two. I think having SVSU would be, 3 boards would be a bit much for me right now.
I would agree. I would agree with that. So I would entertain a motion to nominate Dick and Scott to continue as SVSU reps for this board for the ensuing year.
I'll second that.
So you're actually making the motion, Jeff, because I can't make the motion from the chair.
So I'll make the motion to nominate Dick and Scott, because we have three positions, right?
Yeah, we'll get to that third in just a moment.
So for those for the first two, yeah.
Okay. Chayla, was that a second?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So I'd like to start there. We have a first and a second on the floor. Any discussion about this nomination of Scott and Dick for the SVSU reps? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion on the floor, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so that motion carries. So thank you very much, Dick and Scott. That leaves us with a third vacant SVSU spot. I would like us to hold off on that until we can address the fact that we have a vacant seat from Pownell. Because I think it's going to be important to have that person's voice at this table and maybe even tap that person to be that representative as well. So unless there are strong objections to waiting to fill that third slot, I'd like us to move on to our next agenda item. Okay, great. So that brings us to public comment. So I do see that we have some participants in tonight's meeting whose names and faces I don't immediately recognize. So Superintendent Culkeen, can you please facilitate unmuting people and allowing them to make their public comment?
At this point, they're allowed to, I have it set up so they can unmute themselves. So
okay,
you can call on them if they can raise the hand feature, or they can put the camera on and raise their hand, one or the other.
Yep. So at this point, the floor is open for public comment. So if anyone would like to make such comments, please turn your camera on and indicate that you'd like to say something. All right, going once, going twice, and it's gone. All right.
Sorry.
Yep.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Sorry. It's trying to find the buttons on this little phone. So the mask mandate that's coming around, and just want to voice my thoughts on the mask mandate as a teacher in the school, and also as a parent, and as a member of the deaf and hard of hearing community. It's been a real struggle the last couple of years as a person with hard of hearing with the mask, and also I know it's been a real struggle for students in my classroom as well, having the mask. So I just, in thinking about whether or not we are going to follow Vermont's suit in lifting the mask mandate on March 14th, that we take that into consideration. I know that our COVID rates have gone down low, and I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared. I just hopped on a few minutes ago. I wasn't prepared for this. So basically, that's all I'm saying is, like I said, hard of hearing and students with disabilities and students with hearing problems and speech. The speech is incredibly delayed, I've noticed, in school, and I teach kindergarten, and was a former teacher in the early ed. So I see a significant decrease in speech and language delays and even performance in school. So I just know that if we lift the mask mandates, it's going to be extremely helpful in many, many different ways. I wish I had a better speech prepared, but that's just my thoughts. So,
Okay.
and I know a lot of people agree and are on board with me as well. So,
Okay. So
that's just my 2 cents. Yeah.
Well, and thank you for that. And for the sake of our minute taker, could you please just tell us your name and the town in which you live?
I am Stacy Martin, and I live in Ireland.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It looks like Sandra Catlin has her hand up. And so please, so you can start by correcting me on the pronunciation of your name if I got that incorrect. Otherwise, if you could please introduce yourself and let us know what town you're in.
Yes, I'm Sandra Catlin. I actually don't live in town, but I am a speech and language pathologist in the early education program. And like Ms. Martin spoke about, I didn't really prepare a speech either because I came on to listen to see what the plan was for the masks, but it has been very difficult, especially with really young children in the preschool. Yes, some are handling it well. It's very difficult, obviously, for speech. I am able, with some parent permission, they take their mask down, but it's really hard. I've also noticed some kids just social emotionally really like hiding behind the masks and not talking. And so I really came on to advocate for lifting the mask mandate, as the governor had stated, and also allowing people to wear them as needed, but or as they want. But that was really what I came on for, and just kind of also to hear what people thought and where the board stood on that, because I had heard it was going to be on the agenda, so I wasn't prepared for the public comment first either. But I really feel like I need to advocate for our teachers and our children that that we should have the option to wear or not wear.
Thank you for that. Tony, yes, please.
Hey, everyone. Good to see everyone. I just want to reiterate what Sandra and Stacy said about the mask mandate. As you know, I've been a part of the high school and the middle school now, and I know you guys are talking elementary, but my daughter's in Shasbury, and I just think it needs to happen for the betterment of the kids, all around. I hear their struggles. I agree with it 100%. I know the kids they're ready, most kids. And I think leaving it as an option is the way to go. If you want to wear a mask, of course you can wear a mask, and that's fine, but leaving it as an option is huge. We followed the AOE guidelines through this whole thing. That's what they're saying now. So I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in. Good to see everyone. Thanks.
Thank you, Tony. And just for the record, could you tell us your name and, you said you're from Shasbury, and you're Tony D'Onofrio. Who doesn't know
From
Tony
Shasbury.
D'Onofrio? Shasbury. There it is. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other members of the public wish to take advantage of the opportunity for public comments? Okay. So I see Maggie Lacasse popping on. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I couldn't get my mute off. I just want to definitely back up the 3 people that just spoke. As a parent of a child with disability and speech delays, as well as many other things, and a child on an IEP who has struggled for years, I am in favor of getting the masks off. We've like the last guy said, I'm sorry, I forgot his name, but we have followed guidance. We have followed it for many years. So that's all. I wanted to put my 2 cents in and come and listen, because I don't think many people do, and we need to have a say. Thank you.
And could you please just introduce yourself and tell us what town you're in?
Maggie Lacasse, and it's Bennington.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else for public comments? Okay, well, that brings us to the next agenda item, which happens to be mask guidance. So we'll turn it over to Superintendent Culkeen to give us the latest from AOE, please.
As you've heard from some of the public comments, the governor and then the Agency of Education has changed the guidance. It is no longer the 80% mark that you can end wearing masks. So as of Monday, the 14th, mask wearing, if we follow the guidance, will be optional. That would be my recommendation to the board. We have followed for 2 years, we have followed the AOE guidance. Our COVID-19 coordinator, Ashley Walker, is in agreement with that guidance. And we have really come to rely on her guidance as we navigate through this pandemic. So my recommendation is that we would make them optional. We would still make them available in every building for anybody who wanted to wear a mask. And we would encourage everyone who is to still, again, get vaccinated. Our vaccination rates are not approaching the 80% rate in any of our schools. So if we stuck with the current guidance, we'd be wearing masks for the entire school year. I do think the time has come. So I asked the board to consider adopting the latest AOE guidance that masks are optional starting Monday.
Do you need a motion on that, Chris?
Well, we will certainly need a motion on that to accept the AOE guidance around masks. I'm wondering though if it warrants a larger conversation amongst the board first. My own thoughts are these. The superintendent is absolutely correct in saying that we have followed the Agency of Education guidance at every step in this. The AOE guidance comes to us. It takes into account not only the impact on learners of mask wearing and all the other measures that were taken, but it also, of course, takes into account the guidance from the CDC and from the Vermont Department of Health. So since no one on this board is an immunologist or a virologist or a medical doctor of any sort, it always has made sense to me to follow what the AOE and Department of Health guidance has been. And that still stands in terms of my own personal opinion. I am struck, however, in how quickly the guidance shifted from we can drop the masks at the end of the month as long as schools are at 80% to, hey, at the middle of this month, we can drop the masks regardless. I don't know what the medical research says to back that up. I don't know why the 80% recommendation has gone away. I presume it was based on something in the past, and maybe that's a false assumption, but it strikes me that this feels very drastic, very suddenly, not over the length of the pandemic, but certainly over the last 2.5 weeks, based on the guidance we had. So it's that gives me pause. But again, I try to remember that I am not a doctor, nor am I a professional educator. And so we need to rely on experts who are those things to give us the guidance around that. But again, I think this is a larger conversation for the board to have. So I'd be very pleased to hear from any of the board members about what their thoughts are.
I'll jump in next, I guess, though.
Yeah. I'm right there with you, Chris. I feel as though having language that is very supportive to optional versus recommended as far as mask use. So, and having language that lets these kids know that at whatever level, that if they do choose to wear them, that is absolutely okay. And there's going to be no opportunity for any one kid to say, poke fun at the person who continues to choose to wear them, and there needs to be zero tolerance in that regard. And then I think too, the other part of this is it's an evolution. And so whatever language we use, I think it's incredibly important that we let people know that it can go back. If necessary, we will go back. And we will continue to follow guidance as we do that. But it isn't a given that it's going to stay this way forever, because there's going to be future things that come up that we don't necessarily even know about yet. So that's.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Scott. Jeff, I saw you put your hand up.
I kind of piggyback on what everybody else is saying. My big question is, how do the teachers feel as part of a union? I mean, I think they should have some input on this because they're in the
Hmm.
classrooms. Because if they, as a union, potentially could say we're going to continue to wear masks, all the speech and language piece would go out the window. And also, it really comes down to the SVSU. I mean, they also have a say in this. So is it best that we, if we move forward and say we're going to remove the masks, I think we have to wait until SVSU decides, yes, they will agree with that as well. Because if we say yes, it's going to hold the teachers who are contracted to the SVSU. How is that going to pan out? If we say yes and they say no at SVSU. So, I mean, do we wait until SVSU?
Could I respond to Chris?
Yeah, please do.
We met with the union officers and they know what recommendation that I was going to make, and they were in agreement with that. And I also met with the SVSU attorney, and she said this lies with the individual boards that operate schools, because you're not regulating staff, you're regulating what's in your building. And the SU does not operate any buildings other than this building, which I control, which I will be lifting the mask ban on this building on Monday. So the SU doesn't operate a building, so they won't set the policy. That was according to our attorney. It's a vote of the boards that operate schools, which will be only MAU and this board, and Arlington also tomorrow night.
Okay.
We can discuss this with the union.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for doing that, Jim.
Any other board members have any thoughts they'd like to share?
Just wanna, I think a lot that I had wanted to say has been said. I, just definitely want to, support what Scott said, in the sense that we definitely want to make sure that the language is in there, that that it is optional to wear the mask. So if families are more comfortable sending their children in masks and kids are more comfortable with having a mask, then they should feel comfortable being able to do that. So definitely support that. And I agree 100% with what was said in terms of we've been following the AOE guidance this time, and for us to not follow it now would seem, it just wouldn't align with what we've been, supporting and trusting all this time. So we've trusted them for the last 2 years, and I support trusting their guidance at this point in making it optional. So agree with a lot of the points that were already said. And I think for a lot of kids, it's going to be an adjustment. And I think that there needs to be that understanding that some kids don't know school without masks. And it is going to be a big adjustment for them. And I think there may be some social emotional issues that come out of them not wearing masks. And I think the teachers and staff need to be prepared for that as well.
Great, thank you, Chayla. I just want to give the opportunity to either Susan or Tammy to share any thoughts. If you'd like, you certainly don't have to, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to weigh in as well. Okay, Dick, yeah, please go ahead.
I can't say this better than Jim did, but it occurs to me that really the SVSU has no authority to make that kind of decision. So that's my comment.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Yeah,
I
Susan, I'm sorry. Yeah, please.
And I think it should be optional, whether they want to wear or not. And like they said, put guidelines on so other kids aren't picking on them and stuff if they want to wear the mask.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, so in order for us to change the mask practice at this point, we would need a motion to adopt the AOE guidelines.
Move to adopt the AOE guidelines as presented.
All right,
Second.
so it's a first by Dick, a second by Scott. Any further discussion on the motion that's on the floor?
May I amend that to say make them optional?
Sure.
To
Yep.
add that word optional.
Okay. Jim, do you have a statement from AOE? Like at your superintendent's meeting, did they give you a draft motion to be shared with boards?
No, I don't have that.
Okay.
I do want to say to the board that I was going to meet we had a scheduled meeting with the principals today, but I delayed it till after the board meeting. So then we'll meet with the principals before Monday, and we will address all your concerns you have about, making sure that, anyone who wants to wear a mask has that option, and that is tolerated, and what the standards of acceptance will be for that. So those are things that we've already been discussing. I just wanted to let you know, but no, I don't have a statement.
Okay. So Dick, in the absence of a statement from AOE, can you please give us some specific wording for your motion?
That the SVUESD would support the option to wear masks in all of its schools effective March 14th.
Thank you. Scott, does that still work for you as you were the second? Okay. So we have a first and a second. Any further discussion on the motion?
I have one more thing, Chris.
Yeah.
I mean, if I remember right, I think the CDC guidance was as long as it's a low and medium, spread of COVID in the community. I mean, I think as Bennington and Rutland County, last I remember as of last week, we're still considered high. I mean,
That's
does
right.
that impact? I mean, because if we're going by CDC recommendation, they're saying only if you're low and medium to remove indoor mask mandates.
We have never followed the CDC guidance. We only follow the Agency of Education guidance.
But, that's what the CD's recommendation,
Yeah.
which is, if we're a high spread community, we should continue with indoor masks.
Right.
So, I mean, like I said, if we're looking at health overall, that's why I think we have to look at, consider as well.
Yeah.
Like I say, that's that splitting the hair, but I mean, the CDC is, recommending.
It's an important hair, and I don't think it's hair splitting, Jeff. I think it's an important to all this. Yeah.
We also question the accuracy of spread rates now as how much underreporting is going on. Because you're home testing and you stay at home, and a lot of those test results are no longer getting reported. So I think in my discussion with our COVID-19 coordinator, the only accurate numbers are hospitalizations and deaths. Those are the only ones that they're really accurate at this point in the pandemic. Because of the non-reporting.
Okay, so hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion on the floor, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstention.
Yep, same here. Okay, motion passes.
I had one other question after the motion passes.
Okay.
And is, not really middle school, but just overall students in general, because you're going to have houses with mixed students.
Mm-hmm.
If the MAU board doesn't meet till next Wednesday, how are they going to vote on Monday?
The MLU Mount Anthony students, both middle school and high school, have to continue wearing masks until Wednesday. So that's what I'll be informing the principals. Yeah, it is going to be a split difference, but until that board meets and reorganizes, which isn't scheduled till next Wednesday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, those students will have to wear masks, which I know will be an enforcement issue. I know that.
And it's tough when you're going to have challenges with families with multiple households. Like with
if only Act 46 had worked, and we only had one board.
With one, like where you have an elementary school student and a middle school student, that's going to be a tough sell. So.
And can I just, as we move forward, can we just make sure that we really have language about the students who decide to wear masks in school, as far as any bullying issues that do go on? I mean, that really is a zero tolerance. Because some families can choose to wear masks because of, other things, but if they're getting picked on at all, honestly, as a board member, I want zero tolerance. So I'd like to see some language, maybe.
I don't believe there's anybody who would think otherwise, Jeff.
Yeah, but it happens, Jim. We know it happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
for all kinds of reasons, not just for wearing masks.
Yeah,
and
sure. But in making mask wearing optional, what we are creating is the possibility for yet another way for kids to divide themselves. When that doesn't sit great with me, but okay.
Especially the political and all of that.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you for that, and thank you for that discussion as well. So agenda item 5 is the consent agenda.
Chris,
Yeah.
can I bring up something that we didn't do under reorganization?
Sure, please.
The procedure for executing contracts.
Oh,
and
yes.
the authorization of chair and vice chair to approve off-cycle warrants.
Yep.
So if I could read the procedure for executing contracts, this is a motion that I'll ask one of you to make. To authorize the superintendent or his or her designee to execute on behalf of the school district purchase orders, agreements for consulting services, grant agreements, and other contracts arising affecting the routine operation of the school district. The superintendent or designee shall not execute any contracts resulting from a public bid process, any employment agreements, and any long-term contracts without express authority from the board. And you vote on this every year.
So, yeah, Dick, please.
Move to, make a motion to accept the statement as read by Jim.
Thank you. Can we have a second on that, please?
Second.
Thank you. We'll call that Scott. I saw his hand first. Any discussion on that? Other than I will just reiterate, this is a normal operating procedure. Okay, so hearing none, all those in favor of the motion on the floor, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, that motion passes.
And then chairperson, number 2B, authorization of chair and vice chair to sign off cycle warrants.
That
Need a
what that does
motion,
is
yeah.
save us the experience of having to call special meetings to sign those warrants when they come in.
I make a motion to provide chair and vice chair that.
Great, thank you. That's a first. Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Thank you, Dick. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? And that motion carries. All right, thank you, Jim. Which brings us to our consent agenda. The consent agenda includes 4 sets of minutes, a single resignation, and a single nomination to fill that vacant slot. So I'd accept a motion to approve the consent agenda as published. Thank you, Scott. Do we have a second on that? Thank you, Chayla.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on the consent agenda as published? Dick, please.
I was not present on the 28th because I had to moderate Woodford's meeting, so I don't know if you can remove that from the consent agenda and vote on the balance. Otherwise, I'll abstain on the whole thing. So.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so a person can vote in favor of a person can vote to accept minutes for a meeting that person was not present for, if that makes a difference for you, Dick. I don't know that we can necessarily modify the consent agenda or break that piece out. So we'll leave it in and I'll let you vote your conscience whether or not you want to approve or abstain. So we have the consent agenda as published to include all 4 sets of minutes. A motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion on that? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the consent agenda as published, please signify by raising your hand and saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you, Dick. And the motion passes. Thank you. All right, so agenda item 6, finance. We had our treasurer's report that was posted as part of the board packet. And then that is an FYI. And then 6B is that we have a donation earmarked for Bennington Elementary School. So I'll ask Director Gordon to inform us a little bit more about that, please.
There. So there is a donor that sent a check specifically to Bennington Elementary in the amount of $500. It's Bruce Learman. And I think this has happened on occasion in the past, and the school would like to use the monies for positive incentives for students.
Okay. Great. So I would entertain a motion to accept that donation, please.
So move.
Thank you, Dick. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Chayla. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion to accept the donation, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the motion passes. Thank you. Director Gordon, can you please forward to Jeff, our brand new clerk, the contact information for the person who made the donation so we can accept? Thanks.
I will try. It actually came from an investment fund, so we
Okay.
might have to do a little research.
Okay. If we can find someone to thank, we ought to, but if it's just coming through those funds, then so be it. All right, that brings us to agenda item 7, which are policies. So we have one to warn. So it's one of our Title IX policies, which are required by law. All of the language in this particular policy, which is the prevention of sexual harassment as prohibited by Title IX. It's a dense policy. I recommend that folks go through it fairly carefully. There's a lot in there. Again, it's all based on law, so we're not, recreating the wheel here. It's just something that we need to ensconce within our own policies. So we're warning that. I would expect this will come up probably in the next 3 months through the policy committee for us to approve. But for right now, I would entertain a motion to warn policy 5003. Thank you, Dick.
5003.
Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Chayla. Any discussion on warning policy 5003? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of warning the policy, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, and the motion passes. Next, we have 5 different policies that we have already warned. They are the anaphylaxis policy, the condom availability policy, which does not apply to us because that's a policy that begins to be applied in the 7th grade. We have the conflict of interest, we have the special education, and we have the curriculum-based field trips policy. So as we have warned those before, I don't know that we need too much time to discuss them, but we'll start by is there a motion to adopt all 5 of those policies? Okay, thank you. We have a first. Do we have a second on that? Okay, Chayla, thank you. Any discussion on adopting policies 5184, 5145, 4035, 6050, and 6230?
I just want a clarification.
Sure,
For the
go ahead.
anaphylaxis, we have in their administration of appropriate medication. I thought teachers couldn't give medications. So it'd have to be just the nurse or, somebody else.
I'm pulling it up right now.
I
Jeff,
have-
I'm sorry. Just say that again, please.
In
Ask
the
your question again.
administration of appropriate medication. So if we're going anaphylactic, you're usually talking EpiPen. I thought teachers couldn't administer medications.
So I'm looking at page 2, lines 4 through 7 of that policy, where it specifically talks about in the admin regs, kind of how the nurse is the primary go-to, but then also has the option to train what they're calling alternative personnel.
Okay.
So does that address your concern?
Yeah, I guess as long as it's the primary nurse, it's the alternative personnel, it's just.
It's usually the principal under the direction of the nurse, if the nurse isn't available.
Okay, just making sure.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Any other discussion on any of our, Dick, please.
Just one note that 5145 condom availability has been renamed to health barrier methods availability. It's no longer condom availability.
Yep, that's a good point to make. Thank you. All right, any other discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of adopting the 5 policies enumerated, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. And that brings us to agenda item 8, which is the superintendent's report. So Superintendent Culkeen, floor is yours.
Good evening. At the previous 2 board meetings, we gave you a presentation on the 3 pillars of our recovery. You got a report on social, emotional, mental health, and well-being. And the second one was engagement and truancy. Tonight was slated to be academic success. That's going to be delayed, hopefully only another month, because the state has still not released the data for us to be able to complete that report. So I had told you when you got pillar 2, that the next meeting would be pillar 3. But as I said, we don't have the data. So I didn't want you to think we're ignoring it. We just don't have it, and we'll put it on the agenda as soon as we do. I'm talking to you from a building that in just a few short months we won't be in, and this board needs to consider what you want to do with this building after July 1. My recommendation is maybe the chair, you put a small ad hoc committee together that might want to look into that, meeting with Renee and I and others to see, and maybe Jerry Prue, to see what the options are. I would say initially we're going to need to secure it, and depending on how long it is, what happens to winter in this building. But last week I toured our new facility. It's coming along, and I have no reason to believe that we won't be in there for July 1. So I want to make the board aware, remind the board, make you aware of it, because you do own this building. We rent it from you. And so a decision's got to be made. I don't know what the options are. I don't know, sell it, reuse. We know that reusing all square footage, both floors of this building, we got an estimate for almost 3.5 million for a total rehab to make this all ADA compliant. I don't know if we need that. I don't know. That's for the board to look into, make recommendations, and I'd be happy to meet with you on that. But just wanted to remind everybody that we're going to have to do something with it. As you know, Todd Phillips, I think he was here, but is retiring at the end of this year from Pownell Elementary School as the principal. And the search is well underway with interviews beginning this week for the principal position there. It's made up, we have board member, we have 3 teachers, another principal, and some central office administrators on that screening committee. So I'm pleased with how that process is going to fill that position. And those are really my 3 big points, unless you got to do something with this building. The mask was really, the highlight for me for this meeting. I thank you. I just want to point out, it was March 17th of 2020, which is next week, that we went fully remote and shut down. So we're just shy of 2 years of dealing with this. And I don't think anybody ever imagined that was going to be the case, but thank you for that today. And I want to reinforce that when we meet with the principals, we will put down what the expectations are about tolerance of those who want to wear masks. And in our discussions with the union, HR may then get requests from people, particularly people who may have compromised health situations, who are uncomfortable being in buildings, and we may have to make, consider some accommodations, just like we did in the beginning of this, because people are still nervous, and rightfully so. And I think one of you said something that bears repeating. We could be back wearing masks again too. We don't know what the next variant is going to be, or is this really under control? Our vaccination rates are low. I don't think, as I said to you, I don't think we'd ever reach. One of your schools is as low as 19%, and the highest is, I don't want to misquote, and I don't want to identify schools either, but the range is 19 to a high of 62%. So even your highest school is still well off from being at 80%. I don't think we would have ever achieved it. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions for our superintendent? Jeff, go ahead, please.
Have we heard back from UCS? Have you heard back from UCS on the Pownell building, the Head Start building down in Pownell?
Renee, are you still here? Do you know where that stands with, I thought they were having an architect reach out to us.
They're actually doing some property investigation right now.
That's
So
right.
it is moving forward, but Paul Miller, the hydrogeologist, is doing
That's who it was, yeah.
some reported work right now. So I've been working with him.
Thank you. I couldn't remember his name because he's done work with us before, but I still couldn't remember his name. Thank
Right.
you.
Yeah.
Great. Any other questions for the superintendent? All right, very good. That moves on to the 9th agenda item, which is the chair's report. So one of the primary things, well, I guess let's start with what the superintendent brought up regarding what to do with the building. His request is that this board that an ad hoc committee is created by this board. I would want to see at least 2, if not 3 members of this board serving on that ad hoc committee. So I'll just ask, first of all, by a show of hands, if there's anyone who has an interest or an expertise that could be lent to this particular process. Okay, so we have Scott raising his hand. We have Dick raising his hand. Thank you very much. So we'll start with at least
Susan has her hand up
And I have
too.
my hand up too.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Susan, it's very hard to see you. I think I actually.
You want me to move over there?
No, we're almost done. We're almost done. But it's just, I think I accidentally ignored you seconding a motion earlier. So sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Look, I'll zoom in on her. Here we go.
Thank you for that. So we have Susan, Dick, and Scott, which is wonderful. So thank you very much to the 3 of you. Unless there are any strong objections or other thoughts, let's have these 3 members of the board.
And Jerry Prue's on the meeting. Members of the board. Yeah, I think Jerry Prue needs to be involved in this too.
Okay. Yep. Great. So thank you very much to the 3 of you. So we'll look forward to hearing your recommendations for sure. We also have we just had elections, so that was wonderful. I think Banner erroneously reported that Susan was out of office, but you're not, Susan. So I'm glad to see you there today.
2 more years.
You do. But we do have a vacancy created. So when Cindy chose not to run for re-election, nobody else from Pownell chose to run for her seat. When this board was formed as a result of Act 46, the individual citizens of a town were the only ones who could vote on their town's representatives to the first iteration of this board, which is why when Tony left and Jeff came on, Jeff needed to be needed to be selected by the select board of his town, because that was the statute that governed how the initial board members were elected. However, now that the members of this board are elected on an at-large basis, you need to live in the town that you represent, but every town in this unified elementary district gets to vote on the people. So because that is the situation, it is now up to this board to fill that vacancy with someone who would have been eligible to run. So that means a person over the age of 18 living in Pownell. I think that's it. So those 2 things. So we will need to come back as a board. We have 30 days to do this. So we need to come together in the next 2 weeks. Maybe we can push it out as far as 2.5 weeks. And we need to elect someone or appoint someone to that seat. So one thing we need to do is to set a date for another meeting in about 2.5 weeks. That puts us around. So, and the reason why I say 2.5 weeks, it's 30 days from the day of town meeting, from the day that the vacancy was created, which is town meeting. So the latest we could do that is 3 weeks from today. So Superintendent Culkeen, do you happen to have a sense as to what your obligations are and the obligations of others for the 24th, for the 23rd, 24th? That's a Wednesday and Thursday.
Look.
And we could go as far as the 28th or the 29th, but that's getting too close.
So the 23rd will be the SU meeting, but you could, and the 24th, there's no meeting on the 24th right now.
Okay. What does the 28th look like? Can you check that, please?
Yeah. There's no meeting scheduled, but I know I won't be available, but I'd be able to have someone else host the meeting. So
okay.
You don't really need me there for that, but.
Okay. Are folks available on that Monday, the 28th? Anyone know for sure that they're not available? Okay, great. So let's plan on meeting at the 28th. We can call it 5 o'clock unless that really doesn't work for folks. So that was the easy part, setting the date. The more difficult part is who we're going to look to fill this seat. I have a thought, but I'm certainly open to other ideas as well. My thought is this: that simply anyone who we should all talk to our acquaintances, our friends, our family who might live in Pownell, and see if we can find people who are interested. Anyone who is interested should send just an email of interest to me, or they can send it to the board member they know, who can then forward it to me. And then when we gather on the 28th, we can review the folks who would like to sit on the board or who are willing to sit on the board, review their letters, and make our decision from there. That was the thought that I had for how we take care of this issue. But I'm happy to entertain some other thoughts if people have other modes to deal with this.
And I'm not sure I can make the 28th. Have to probably look at my calendar, but
okay.
I probably do it if it's short. But
okay. Yeah, I mean that would be the only agenda item.
Yeah.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, Shayla. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so if it's a quick meeting, I could probably do it, but I have obligations that evening.
Okay.
Chris, and I may have some names for you.
Great.
Then I'll get them to you. I'm just not sure now. I want to be sure that these people really want to do it but I'll get them to you.
Super. Thank you, Tammy.
Okay.
And does there need to be some sort of public notice in the banner or in?
Yeah, I mean,
we can put it on our website, and Cat TV's broadcasting today. Maybe somebody from Pownell is hearing this. But we'll certainly put it on our website. What else we could? Yeah.
Well, and maybe we could give our new clerk another duty, and Jeff, if you're able, just draft up a very, I don't think it has to be a long letter at all, but just a quick letter to the editor in the banner, and have that, just to put it out there as another way to possibly reach interested parties. Okay, thank you. Okay, so that's how we'll deal with that. We will come back on the 28th. And Jim, can you please make sure that Amy warns that meeting for 5 o'clock on the 28th?
Yep.
Thank you. Two sort of topics that this board had been working on coming up to budget season. I just want to keep fresh on people's mind that we are still working on them. One is a reconsideration of our use of school resource officers throughout the district. And the other is the building committee, which Scott and Dick had said they would sit on. That particular committee hasn't really been rolling yet, but I'm hoping now that the pressure is off of central office with budget season being over, we can really start to see some forward momentum on that. Because the fact remains we have aging buildings and we need to figure out some plan for how we can make sure that our students and teachers and staff have what they need in their facilities. So those are out there. And although I've never specifically said this in a board meeting, since it kind of came up with our mask conversation today, I will just use the prerogative of the chair. Parents should get their kids vaccinated. They should absolutely. And at some point along the line, medicine became politicized, and that is a terrible, terrible thing for our towns and our community and our country and the state of public health. That there is an overwhelming scientific consensus that these vaccinations are safe and they are the thing that are going to help ensure that everyone remains healthy. And if you are an immunologist or a virologist or an epidemiologist or some kind of medical doctor, great, I'll listen to what you have to say, but I'm not. And again, I don't think anyone listening to this meeting is. And so therefore our opinions, whatever they may be, however they may be informed, I don't think are as valid as the actual doctors and scientists who have spent a lifetime studying these things. And when those people say that we should all get vaccinated, then that's good enough for me, because we need to trust expertise in this country. And some point down the line, we stop trusting expertise. So since we're not going to be wearing masks anymore, I really hope that parents take on that responsibility and get their kids vaccinated, because that is what's going to get us through. And just because they're no longer wearing masks in school doesn't mean that COVID is no longer real. And maybe the likelihood of them getting really sick as kids, maybe that's true, but they're going to become teenagers. They're going to become young adults. They're going to become adults, and COVID is still going to be around. So at some point, I hope everyone gets their vaccine so that we can really put this behind us and not just kind of put it behind us by dropping our mask mandates. So that's what I had to say. So that brings us to agenda item 10, which is simply an FYI, which is the enrollments for March 22, which is going to be posted later on. There's the budget status report. There's the financial management questionnaire. And then there's also the policy 5016, that's 5016, which is about proficiency-based graduation requirements, which has some updated admin regs. So with that, we've exhausted our agenda, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Dick. Susan, since I missed a second you did before, do you want to second the motion to adjourn?
Sure. I'll
Hey, look
second
at that, Susan. Very good. So we have a first and a second. Any discussion about adjourning this evening? Hearing none. All those in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we are adjourned.
Cat TV is celebrating 30 years of community media. Help support Cat TV's next 30 years by becoming a member today. Your membership will help us continue covering meaningful, local content. Thank you for supporting your local community media station.